What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Prospects Overload presented by Prospects Worldwide. And it is back. We are back. It's been about 4 months since the last time that we had one of these, but we're at a position where we can have it again, be up and running. And as always, I'm here with my terrible co-host, Austin Farmer. Austin, say hi.
What's up, people? I don't know why Jake keeps calling me terrible. He has, he has a grudge against me for whatever reason. But has it been 4 months? Is that right?
Yep. Yeah, the last one we did, dude, was with Renzi. And that was 4 months ago. I just checked it the other day.
That's wild.
That's wild. Okay, all right. Well, Austin, today we're actually showcasing not only just bringing back Prospects Overload, and this episode is called "It's Back." That was my my title for this, but we're actually introducing one of our new writers, so that should be really fun. Austin, we're welcoming our newest writer, CJ, to Prospects Overload. How's it going, CJ?
It's going great. Glad to be on here. Let's get this thing rolling.
Straight to business. I love it. So I thought as a start, we're just going to jump right in as CJ is wanting to just jump right in. I figured the trade deadline is tomorrow. So I figured we would do two, not one, but two trade retrospectives and talk about some former trades that were really controversial at the time. And yeah, so our first one we're going to talk about, I'm sorry, Austin, but Rangers acquiring Nathaniel Lowe, Jake Gunther, and Carl Chester for Heriberto Hernandez, Ozelvis Basabe, and Alexander Ovalis from the Rays. Fellas, what do we think about this trade?
All right. That trade, I don't think it's really meant as much as everyone thought it was going to mean starting there. To be honest, most of those guys are kind of no names.
To be fair, I mean, Nate Lowe has been pretty decent. He's been the best piece from that trade. So at the time, I really...
Yeah, besides Nate Lowe.
Yeah, I didn't really think
I agree,
much of it at the time, but Nate Lowe has really worked out in the Rangers' favor.
Yeah, but I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Heriberto Hernandez and Ozelvis Basabe are both really solid pickups for the Rays, and ever since they've really joined the Rays, they've risen through the system and they've become really quality prospects. Alexander Ovalis, like he's a decent player. I just don't think he'll be that special, but it's basically because Jake Gunther is 25 in high A, so he probably won't make it past AAA. And Carl Chester has already retired. So it's basically Nate Lowe for those three prospects. And I don't know, it's just something about trading with the Rays. It's just every single time you trade with the Rays, some prospect comes out of nowhere and becomes a stud. It's very interesting.
Yeah, but in my opinion, I think you could also say that Rangers, won that trade because, this year, Lowe's hitting 275, which isn't great, but for the Rangers, that's pretty good if you look going up and down their lineup,
Yeah, Lowe has had some really nice moments with the Rangers. So, obviously one of those guys, the Rays could do something where they just take off, once they reach the bigs and everything. But I think for at least now, like the Rangers did good getting Nate Lowe.
Yeah, very solid points all around. Very solid points, but I don't know. It's just the whole entire, it's one prospect, or basically at the time, one prospect for three. One panned out on the Rangers side, and it's possible at least two or three could pan out for the Rays. So, yeah. But that's just me playing devil's advocate. All right, so our next one, again, we're doing this because of the trade deadline and just everyone's hyped over these trades. This one contained a 3-team swap, and this is between the Padres, the Pirates, and the Mets. And this one, to me, for the Mets, is very puzzling at the time. But the Padres got Joe Musgrove in this trade, and as we all know, the Padres just extended him for 5 more years, so he's going to stay there. He stays with his hometown team. The Pirates get Omar Cruz, Hudson Head, Andy Rodriguez, and Drake Fellows, and the Mets get Joey Lucchesi. So for me, the Mets did terrible in this trade, and I will be open about that. And the Pirates, I think, did okay, but the Padres ran out the real winners here. What do you guys think?
I'd go, yeah, because Joe Musgrove's obviously I'd go top 15 pitcher in baseball, maybe a little better than that, in my opinion. He's consistent, hits his spots, and plays hard, so you can't complain about that. Joey Lucchesi probably wasn't the best move for the Mets. I think he had maybe one or two good years or solid years. And then the Pirates just pick up prospects there, which is good because they need some help. And one of those guys I think turned out solid, right?
Yeah, Andy Rodriguez is one of the best prospects.
Yeah, Rodriguez, yeah.
And at the time, Hudson Head was looking really good. Now he hasn't really done much since then, but at the time, like the Pirates did decent acquiring him as part of the trade. But yeah, definitely the Padres won that trade by far. In the Mets, sorry, Mets fans.
Because what I like to do with these 3-team swaps is basically take the player that, say, the Padres acquired and then who they gave up to the Pirates. So basically the way I look at it is they traded Joe Musgrove, or the Pirates traded Joe Musgrove and got back Omar Cruz, Hudson Head, and Drake Fellows. Drake Fellows is probably a reliever long-term if he even cracks the big league roster because he has a lot of, injury history. There's going to be injury with him. While also Omar Cruz, he'll be a decent piece, but he's more of a reliever. And then as Austin, you're saying, Hudson Head, really, he still has plenty of potential, but he's just not really the prospect. He hasn't really panned out. But from the Mets' point of view, you basically trade Andy Rodriguez for Joey Lucchesi, which that's going to come back to bite them. And I'm fairly confident in saying that.
Am I wrong, or did Lucchesi had one good year, right?
Yeah, he had one good year where he had a 4.09 ERA or something. He had one good year.
Not great year, just a solid year.
Yeah, I think he had a lot of innings.
He threw a lot of innings and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing. If you can be an inning eater, you're so valuable to a team.
That's a very good point, though. But the problem was, he did he had Tommy John surgery. He hasn't pitched all year. He'll probably, to me, there have been plenty of Mets pitchers that have surpassed him at this rate. So it's he's basically just lowering and lower on the depth chart. So it was just a very questionable move at the time for the Mets fans. And I think now it's just coming all full circle that he's not the player that they thought that he was going to be.
Yeah. Can I add another trade?
Yeah, go ahead.
Not really a deadline trade, but a trade that's starting to pan out in more eyes right now is the Mets Guardians trade for Lindor.
Okay, interesting. I want to hear your point of view on that.
Well, just two of the guys that the Guardians got is Andres Jimenez and Ahmed Rosario, who are both hitting right around 300 this year, and you're not paying the Lindor price, and you get more production out of them. Lindor sadly hasn't he didn't really play well in New York. I think he's playing better this year, or a lot better this year. And then you give up Carlos Carrasco, who's having a decent year this year, but battled back from cancer and all that. So obviously he's not 100%. So I just think that the Guardians won that trade by a mile, in my opinion.
Jimenez was an all-star, you forgot to mention.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Might have been the best play in an all-star game in the last 10 years.
Oh yeah, that play was pretty slick. I remember that. He robbed Manny Machado, but you didn't even mention the two prospects in that trade of Isaiah Green and Jackson Wolf. And when Jackson Wolf is right, he's at least a mid-rotation guy. And
he's probably a 3 or 4.
Yeah, and Isaiah Green, oh my goodness. I remember seeing him out here at Complex League, and that dude can hit. He's not going to have, I think I graded his power at a 45, but that hit tool is above average, and he has speed to go with it. So he's going to be a really nice piece for the Guardians going forward.
Yeah, and they have a lot of young guys. They just keep pulling up people, and they just keep succeeding.
Yeah, and Green, I've seen him a few times this season, and his hit hasn't looked as good this year, but he is getting on base at a really good rate, and he's stealing a lot of bases. So to your point, yeah, he's got really good speed, and he'll get on base.
If we're all good with the trading and all the talks, I want to move forward if you guys are down.
I'm good with it.
Let's do it.
Okay, now, for every one of our listeners, we all know one thing. And that is that we have a lot of hot takes here at Prospects Overload. I mean, this time we don't really have the overrated, underrated segment, I know, but this one will be enough fireworks here to make this a very entertaining episode. But we're going to do start, bench, cut. And for those of you that don't know, it's you're a coach and you have 3 players and you're starting one, benching one, and cutting one. And this is 2022 draft edition. And now one of our writers for our top 50 list is on here. And I think that he will have a very interesting conversation. Isn't that right, Austin?
Yeah, definitely, man. And I think that I've got a pretty good hot take here on today's episode as well.
All right, perfect. So then the 3 names that we're going to be talking about starting, benching, and cutting. Number 1 is Drew Jones. Number 2, Elijah Green. And number 3, Justin Crawford. CJ, I want to hear from you first because I know that Austin will have his hot take. But who are you starting, who are you benching, and who are you cutting?
I'm starting Drew Jones. I think he is the best player in the draft. And I think he should have gone number 1 overall. I'm going to probably bench Green. Yeah, Crawford. I'm probably going to cut him.
Well, then.
That's very interesting. Now, Austin, you get to follow that up. Go ahead, buddy.
Well, pretty much CJ and I have the same thing because even though I love Elijah Green and even though he probably was my favorite overall prospect from the draft, actually that's a lie. Brooks Lee was my favorite prospect from the draft. Elijah Green was my second favorite, but I'm going to start Drew Jones mostly because of the defensive capabilities. I do think that his hitting is overrated overall, but he's still going to be a solid bat in whatever lineup that he hits in. He's not going to wow. He's not going to hit for what people think with his average, but he's going to provide some pop. He's got plus defense. He's got a really good arm and plus speed. So I'm going to start Jones for that, but I'm going to bench Green, even though I like Green's power better and arm better, but and I like his speed, but I don't know. It's kind of it's tearing me apart. So I hate you for this, Drake. But obviously, I'm going to cut Crawford just because his hit is. I know he was a first rounder, blah blah blah, but I'm not as big on his hit.
Austin, let's be honest here. When have you not hated me for one of my start bench cuts?
Oh, yeah, I hate you every episode, and I hate you outside of these episodes, too, because you torture me with stuff like this. So, you're a good friend for that.
You're welcome. Yeah, I think, we need to do a start bench cut with Colton Cowser and 2 other people that you love and just see what happens there.
Oh, God.
I am pretty evil, people, so, yeah. But for me, I mean, I think you have to start Drew Jones. I mean, he was one of the biggest, I would say, prospects out of the draft. I know Elijah Green at the start had more hype than Drew Jones, and it happened because every time I go on to Twitter, like a year ago, it would just be nothing but Elijah Green highlights, Elijah Green. And I'm like, okay, well, this kid can hit. But in my opinion, so can Drew Jones. I saw his swing, and I know one of our other writers isn't a fan of Drew Jones at all.
No, but yeah, Drake, I really do like Elijah Green. I like his bat better than Drew Jones. I think they have similar hits, Both are going to come with some strikeouts. Both are, in my opinion, are average hitters. I do like Green's power better, but when you factor in Jones's defense now, and, it does tear me apart, but I think that I got to give the slight edge now to Drew Jones because of his defense. And yeah.
But I was going to say, can we talk about how the last 3 D-backs prospects or first-round picks have had shoulder injuries of some type? We had Lawler last year, Drew Jones this year, and who was it the year before? Was it Jarvis? Yeah, Jarvis.
Yeah, Jarvis.
Jarvis had shoulder issues. What is going on in Arizona to have this continue to happen?
Yeah, it's definitely weird because I know that Jarvis hasn't really had a good season so far this year, but he definitely still has the potential, and I really do like his upside. I don't know. For what's going on over there, I really don't have an answer just because I'm still an outsider and everything. But, they're still doing what they can even post shoulder, issues because, Jarvis still has a lot of stuff. He still has all the potential to make it. And then Jordan Lawler is absolutely killing it this season. So it definitely is something to be concerned about with Drew Jones, but I wouldn't be super worried about it, because I know a lot of fans are just like, a lot of Diamondbacks fans are just like, oh my God, it's over. Like, just give it time because for all we know, Jones is going to come back and he's going to ball out and maybe even possibly be better.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Sometimes I feel like everyone gets a little overreact too because he was like with the Diamondbacks like 2 days when he got his injury, maybe 2 days, I think, right?
Yeah, and he was taking batting practice at that too.
I don't know if you can blame that all on Diamondbacks because 2 days, I don't really think they can mess him up that bad in 2 days, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, we already know, Austin, your stuff with Bryce Jarvis. I know you're a huge Jarvis fan, but I'm a bigger fan. He's not even my favorite D-backs pitching prospect. Braden Fat is, but that's for a different episode. We'll talk about him on a later day. I think I've already talked about him enough. But anyway, we're gonna move on here. All right, guys. So we did just have a small break there, but. All right, we're back now. We're going to be focusing more on this, and that CJ and Austin have talked me into it. We will do an overrated, underrated section, but it will be all 2022 draft based, or 2022 draft based. Sorry, I forgot what year it was. I don't know why I did that, but pretty much that's coming later. So stay tuned for that. That should be fireworks and hot takes. But we're going to do with my favorite thing to do, and that's stat of the day. Austin, CJ, you're going to know this, but Austin, I'm always on Fangraphs, and I love just reading and looking at stats of prospects. And this time we dip into a completely new stat that we have not used for one of these stat of the days yet. And that is isolated power, which basically measures raw power using only extra base hits. So no singles. So basically if you go 1 for 5 with a double, it's your isolated power is 200 compared to a 2 for 5 day. With a single and a double, your isolated power is still 200. So that's just basically an example. But average is around 140, 150, and excellent is 250. So just keep that in mind as I go through this list. So number 1 on this list is Nico Cavadas with a 323 isolated power. Number 2 is Hunter Goodman with a 301 isolated power. Number 3, which is someone that I'm really high on, is Von Braun with a 289 isolated power, or ISO. But folks, sorry, I forgot to mention, this is for low A. This is only low A. So this list, I'm just going to re-say it one more time. Nico Cavadas with 323, Hunter Goodman at 301, Von Braun at 289, Jackson Chourio at 276. Then we have Carson Williams at 231, Sammy Infante at 228, Grant McRae at 226, Robert Perez Jr. at 226, Albert Fabian at 222, and Rivertown at 219. Now, with this list, I mean, I guarantee you, well, not guarantee you, but I think some of our listeners don't even know who half these guys are. That's what's so incredible to me. I mean, there's not really one big-time prospect except for Jackson Chourio on this list.
And Grant McRae.
I just want to get you guys' thoughts on McRae.
Yeah, McRae's a stud.
Yeah, okay then.
How can you not include McRae, Drake?
2. There's 2.
Come on, man.
Yeah, 2.
Come on, Mr. Prospector.
Austin, shut up. You're a Rangers fan.
I hate
But
you.
anyway, guys, what do we think there?
Well, I'm going to point the obvious one out right here as to why this guy, I mean, for the most part, makes sense. Like Nico Kovacs is 23 to almost 24. And, you know, he's pretty much just a power only guy. So for him to be at the top of this list does make sense, because if you're not 23, 24, just absolutely killing it, you know, odds are you're not going to make it. But I will say that one of the more special names on this list is definitely Jackson Chourio. Like, I've seen so many Carolina games this season, and that kid is special. Like, 18 years old and already doing all that. Just, yeah, that kid is special. But one surprising name is Robert Perez Jr. I've seen a number of Modesto games too, a lot of Modesto games, and he kind of burst on the scene this year. Like, he just started putting on a power hitting display, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know who he was prior to the season. And the last interesting name that I'll point out and let the two of y'all go is Rivertown, who, you know, how can you not love a name like Rivertown? I saw him a handful of times at DBU, and he's another guy. He's like 22, 23 in A-ball, so he should be crushing it. And he has really shown some power this season, so it would make sense for him to be on this list, because he is a bit on the older side for low A.
I honestly can't say anything different than Austin. Kind of killed it there with what I was thinking as well. Obviously, the older guys should be hitting the ball a little more, a little harder, I guess, more power, more pop, since they've been around it, been in low A probably a little longer. But yeah, totally agree with Austin.
Yeah, one more name I would like to point out on this list, because CJ, I thought that you were gonna cover him, but yeah, Grant McCray, that kid is special too. Like, he's kind of, I wouldn't say he's under the radar, but he's not as hyped as he should be. And shout out to our boy Renzi, Giant Prospective, who's been on the Grant McCray train ever since he got drafted. Like, McCray is really coming on. You know, I've seen a number of San Jose, I almost said Fresno, but that's Rockies. I've seen a lot of San Jose games. Ironically, I've seen a lot of San Jose versus Fresno games, which is where Fresno came into my mind. But McCray has really caught on. I would say like the last 2 to 3 months. I remember at the beginning of the season, like, he was, I wouldn't say he started off slow, but he wasn't really doing much. But it's nice to see his name on this list. I'll leave it at that before I spaz out.
I'll just add to McCray. I think all the stuff I've heard about him, his coaches always say that he outworks everybody, and that's probably why his numbers are better than most people's. Just throwing that out there, because in my opinion, my favorite stat is hard work. Not really a stat, but can't beat that.
As a baseball coach, I love hearing that. but yeah, there's just a few names here. I mean, Von Braun, I remember I saw him at the Complex League before he moved to low A last year. And the first game I saw of him, I got no video on him because I had no clue who he was. Then it come to find out that he was a 2021 draft guy. And he went, I think, 3 for 4 with a double, a triple, and a home run. And I'm just sitting here like, where did this guy come from? And then now he's, again, like, he's raking. And the Giants are, what is it, 2 Giants on here with Von Braun, Grant McCray. And I also just want to highlight Sammy Infante and Albert Fabian. Albert Fabian is another guy that just came out of nowhere, but this time for the Padres. I mean, I don't think anyone's really ever heard of him, and he's coming out of nowhere this year with a solid year. And Sammy Infante, he's a top Nationals prospect, but I never really thought he hit for that much power. And I think he has more gap to gap than anything, but that's pretty insane to have him in the top 6 on this list for low A. Or that does show that there's not really a lot of power in low A, but that I don't think that is true. But yeah, that's just really interesting list overall.
To add to that as well, Drake. Yeah, I remember when I first saw or heard of Sammy Infante and saw some stuff of his. Like, I definitely didn't think that he would put on any kind of power display. Really, I thought as well he was more gap to gap with maybe like 40 power. So it is nice to see some surprise names on this list, like Mr. Infante.
Yeah, I mean, that's every list we've done, man. I mean, I remember when we had the highest on base percentage of AA one time, and Jonah Bride and Nick Plummer were on it. So that was pretty. Yeah, this is why I love Fangraphs, because you hear
The old Plummer.
stuff like that.
The good thing about Nick Plummer is he's always laying the pipe, no matter where, no matter when. He always gets it done, though.
Yeah, that's true, and especially being a former Cardinals prospect, I don't really think he's going to pan out. But that's just my opinion. But I don't know. He's an interesting player, though, indeed.
Drake, you didn't get my joke.
I did, but
okay.
Because he's always laying. I did get your joke. I just thought I just now got your joke.
Drake is an innocent child.
But, I mean, it kind of still relates to baseball. Laying the pipe, I don't know. I should have said laying the wood. Good, good
okay,
bat.
all right. Now we have dirty jokes going on. Okay, perfect. But anyway, we're going to move forward to, I think, Austin, this is actually a new segment. This is called Prospect Crashes. And these, we might have done this before. I just can't really remember because it's been 4 months since the last one. But these are prospects that we were really high on, and now you look back and you're just thinking, what was I smoking? Because these guys did not pan out, and they were really not that good. So, Austin, I'm curious to hear yours first.
I'll start it. Jose Siri.
Ooh, that's interesting. He did just get traded, so
he did get traded. Has all his numbers from last year decreased, except OPS, which, I mean, OPS is great, but if you're not hitting as well, I don't think it matters as much. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's good he's getting on base, but if you're still, I think he's hitting like last time it's been a while since I looked at him, but last time he was hitting, I think like 225. I don't know how his numbers have been since then, but that's my take.
Man, that's interesting. Austin, I'll let you go last here, but I'm just gonna go out with mine. I'm gonna go with Tyrell Jenkins, and if you guys don't know who that is, he used to be a Cardinals right-handed pitcher who I was super high on. What?
And he was from my state, so I remember when he was coming up through the draft, and he had a lot of hype. And
yeah, he had a lot of hype. The Cardinals took him. He was doing very well with the Cardinals, and then that faithful trade of Jason Hayward to St. Louis that basically, in my opinion, killed his career. He goes from the Cardinals to the Braves, who at the time weren't the team that they are now. In the basically now referred to the Jason Hayward for Shelby Miller trade. And something happened. I don't know what. His stuff didn't translate, but he just fell off a cliff. And he is no longer in baseball right now, from what I know. So that's my prospect crasher, because he just fell off. But
can I add something real quick?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Sometimes I feel like in stuff like that, I don't think it can all be baseball related. Just because, like, how does a player that good just fall off the earth so hard? Like, I feel like there's got to be something going on in their other, because obviously baseball is their life, but they also have outside lives outside of baseball. Like, sometimes I feel like there has to be stuff going on there as well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I love that answer, because I'm a huge advocate. Caesar, I know you don't know me yet, but I'm a huge advocate for mental health in sports. I've taken multiple sports psychology classes. Well, actually, that's a lie, but I've taken multiple psychology classes, and I took sports psychology. And it's just so interesting, like, especially just dealing with failure, because baseball you will be humbled by baseball, and it sucks when you're failing at baseball.
It's a game of failure.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and some people just don't have the mind to stay in the game. So that's what's really interesting there.
And I don't know if it was all just failure in baseball, because obviously those guys are top-level or he was a top-level prospect. I think he knows how to deal with failure, but it might just be failure in other parts of life as well.
That's a very good point.
So, Good take, Austin or Drake. Sorry.
All right, so my guy is going to be Beau Burrows. He's another guy from Texas who I was really high on coming out of the draft. I remember just seeing everything online and, seeing all his perfect game stuff and then some clips and whatnot from when he was debuting as a pro. And I thought, man, this guy's going to be really good. And he just, every time he gets called back up to the bigs, he just gets lit up. And now he starts in the minors and then comes in relief when he does get called up, and he can't ever figure it out. And he was a first rounder in 2015 out of Weatherford High School and in Weatherford, Texas, and he looked really good. He had like a mid-90s fastball, some really nice stuff, and just nothing has come together for him.
Sometimes I wonder if like their top is AAA, like they're good, but are they show good? You know what I'm saying?
That is kind of what I get from Beau Burrows, but yeah, and especially the last couple of seasons in the minors too, like he has not looked good. So I don't think that he's going to be in the game much longer though.
Yeah, that's very interesting. But there's also that, just back to CJ's point there, there's also the guys that, like, I'll see them in the complex league and they will never leave. Like, there's a guy right now named Miguel Perez who's 21. He's with the Mariners, and he's struggling to hit, even though the last game I saw him, he had like 3 hits and a home run and a double. But he was there last year, struggled. He's there again this year. He struggled. There's a chance he doesn't even go past low A or double A. Like,
Elijah Tatis,
like stories like that. Oh God, we've already made a few fan bases mad. But anyway, we're gonna move forward here with this is the moment that everyone's been waiting for. I got talked into this, but the overrated, underrated section and the 2022 draft. And let's hear your guys' overrated and underrated.
Go ahead, Austin.
All right, y'all are putting me on the spot here, huh? All right, well, my overrated take is going to be Cam Collier. And to the other people in, at Prospects Worldwide, yeah, that's right. I'm saying Cam Collier because I did like Collier. I liked his story, how, he essentially dropped out of high school, got his GED. I believe he got his GED. I know he got something where he could go JUCO. But, I saw some game film from his season, and I mean, I think Collier will be fine. I don't think, I don't really have anything really bad necessarily to say. I don't think, he's kind of a weird case. I think that he's going to be a fine player, a solid player, but he's not going to, it's like people see that he did what Harper did, and it's kind of like, oh, well, he's going to be like Harper, but that's not the case. I think he's going to be solid. I think that that's literally all I can say about Cam Collier right now, because I did not like the game footage that I saw, and his swing was kind of weird. So I think he's going to be more of a long-term project, which is also why I think that he is an overrated prospect right now for the draft. I think that, he's 17 years old, so I would imagine it's going to take 5 years or so for him to develop. And that being said, 5 years, and then, I would give him like a roll 5 possibly. And again, I was higher on him prior to the season, but now I have more question marks. So that's going to be my overrated take.
Well, that is very interesting. CJ, what's your overrated take?
My overrated pick is going to be Jace Jones. I think he tore it up in college, but his brother I think he's tearing it up right now. And
did you want to have anything else on Jung or no?
I just think that he's a real good college player, and I just don't see him panning out, I can be completely wrong here, but I just think that he's not going to pan out, and I think he's a little overhyped. So that's me.
That is very interesting. And my overrated, it's going to be Austin. You're gonna probably get a little mad at me, but Jordan Beck. I mean, yes, the power's there, and yes, in Coors Field, it's going to be very, very nice. But the swing and miss is just going to be excessive for him. I mean, I remember the film that you got on him, Austin. That was a very popular video on our own YouTube and our own Twitter account mainly. But yeah, he just has a ton of swing and miss. Ball recognition's just not there. But I mean, I know that he has high exit velocity. I know he's gonna hit the crap out of the ball, and cores. But I just don't know. I think the swing and miss is really gonna affect his game.
Yeah, and in the scouting report that I did of him, I had his hit at a 45, and I believe I did mention that there will be swing and miss concerns. Now, I also mentioned don't throw him a high fastball because he does hunt high fastballs. So really, I wouldn't say I necessarily agree with you, but I can understand where you're coming from.
All right, fellas. So let's get to our underrated section. CJ, since you kind of already foreshadowed it, I'll let you go first here.
My underrated prospect is the number 4th pick in the draft, and it's Kumar Johnson for the Pirates. He's small, but he hits well, super high power. I'm excited to see what his power rating will come out to be. He's super fast, and he hits the ball hard, and I think he's underappreciated a little bit. Obviously, he's not super underappreciated if he's taking it 4. I just think he doesn't get as much credit as other guys do when I think he should.
All right, so Austin, let's move on to you. Who's your underrated?
All right, so this should be a little bit obvious for you, Drake, but mine's going to be Dodie. I saw him a lot this season. I saw him at Shriners, and I've got a scouting report of him coming up for the website, and I literally call him Captain Clutch. Like, he was the best clutch hitter that I saw in college baseball, and one of the best clutch hitters I've seen in college baseball. And he was a 2nd-round pick, and I was – yeah, you got a lot of messages from me on draft, not the day 1 of the draft, where I was like, come on, why is no one taking Cade already? Because I was just, I really felt that he should have been a 1st-round pick. But with the Blue Jays lineup, he's going to knock in a lot of runs. And yeah, I feel like not enough people talked about him, and I may be higher on his hit than most. I have him at plus hit, 50 power. I like his glove at 2nd. I think that he's really versatile. So, he can play multiple positions, and yeah, I love Dodie. I love his game, and, Blue Jays got a good one. So I'm going to stop there before, this lasts an hour.
Yes, I have heard so much about you and Dodie, but honestly, Austin, you've probably heard more with my underrated pick than anyone I ever talked about in draft history with you. So mine... His nickname's already amazing, and you already know, you guys both know where I'm going with this. But his name is the Hispanic Titanic. We are going with
Ivan
let's go. Melendez, one of
Agreed. Let's go.
One of my favorite picks of this draft. Ivan Melendez hits absolute nukes. We already know that. I think he's gonna struggle with swing and miss going forward, but I still think he's gonna be a premium catcher for the Diamondbacks. That was an amazing pick by them. I can't even fathom how he did not go in the 1st round. I was so sad when the Cardinals did not take him. But I think Ivan Melendez is going to be an absolute stud for years to come. And the D-backs got themselves a really nice one in Ivan Melendez.
I do think that there is a bit of risk that comes with Ivan, as you said, the swing and miss. Like Victor Roach was the last guy who hit 30 bombs in a season, and he didn't pan out. But that being said, Melendez does have a very high ceiling, and I think he will reach it. But I think that, to your statement that, why he didn't fall in the 1st round, I think that a little bit of swing and miss was a bit of a concern. But just, yeah, Melendez is a beast, man. Like, I saw him a number of times with Texas, and just, yeah, and he's a fun guy to watch. Like, he's got a really good personality and everything. Like, he's just a guy to root for. I'm finished.
CJ, do you want to say anything? Because I heard you say the let's go. So
I just think, you guys just both crushed it out of the park on your takes there. So you guys covered it, but I just think that's a very good underrated pick. That's probably the best underrated pick out of the 3, in my opinion.
Now, I have one more underrated pick, and I'm just going to throw this out there. That people are going to think I'm crazy for saying this, but Kumar Rocker was an underrated pick I think that was one of the better picks in the draft. And Austin, this is probably making your trousers a little wet over there. But, Kumar Rocker, Kumar Rocker was an amazing pick. And I will stand by that. He gets to go join Jack Leiter. And that is a solid 1-2 for the Rangers going forward, especially because they could afford Brock Porter. That was a great pick by the Rangers. And
okay, so
that over and over.
You say that's a great 1-2 going forward. Who's the 1? Who's the 2 in your opinion?
Jack Leiter 1, Kumar Rocker 2.
I'd flip that.
Oh, that's very bold.
Bold right now. Bold. I just like the way Rocker pitched last year, and I like the way he pitched at Vandy, and we'll see. But that's my take.
See, and I love Kumar too, and I am really happy that the Rangers got him. And at the time, when they announced Kumar, I was like, what the heck? I'm censoring myself, of course. It was expletive, but just it really shocked me because I was, like I said earlier, I thought it was gonna be like Elijah Green or whoever. But yeah, thinking back, like that was a really smart pick. I think that with the way that he handled his injury and then like him going to independent league, not pitching, for Vandy this season, I think all that just really had me worried. That being said, I am looking forward to seeing what him and Leiter can do. And again, I mentioned this earlier, but a rotation that has Leiter, Rocker, Wynn, and Porter and Mitch Bratt. Like if Mitch Bratt is the number 5 guy, like the Rangers have pitching. The Rangers finally have pitching.
You're not even mentioning one guy, and I can't believe you're not mentioning him. I can't believe you didn't mention Owen White. He's better than Mitch Bratt right now.
That is true.
I'm going to say it, but
that is true.
Owen White is better than Mitch Bratt, and Mitch Bratt is, oh my God, Mitch Bratt is something special.
Yeah, and I feel like the Rangers also have a depth in pitching where they could trade off some pieces for other other holes that the Rangers have, because let's face it, losing team and at least a couple years away from being contenders, I would say. But yeah, just there is depth in the Rangers pitching system now, and I'm excited.
I think that helps them out a ton because I just think the Rangers have a bright future, and if you need pitching to have a bright future. So
yeah, that's a really good point. But I mean, you can never have too much pitching, Austin. But if you are giving up Mitch Bratt, the Cardinals will surely give you guys a call. Just saying, I'm just putting that out there.
Cooper Jerpy, give us Cooper Jerpy for Mitch Bratt.
I mean, we'll just steal Bratt in the trade, just like we stole the 2011 World Series. It's okay.
God, I hate you so much.
Love is in the air, everybody.
It has come to that point where we start closing this thing off. So I had to at least talk about 2011 one more time to Austin. We always do that. But CJ, I have a little bit of a task for you. Every new person on Prospects Overload that comes on, we always ask this one question. Man, who are your top 5 favorite prospects in any system?
Okay, not just draft prospects?
Not just draft prospects. You can do draft. You can do, I don't know, top, just anything.
Number 1, Jordan Walker. If the Cardinals get Soto, I think he goes, obviously. The only problem with him is he's playing behind arguably a top 3 third baseman in the MiLB currently. So he doesn't have – I don't think he comes up with St. Louis, but I think he will shine somewhere no matter where he is. Another one, I'm going to go with Francisco Alvarez. He just continues to get better for the Mets. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but that's I don't know. I gotta go with that. How do you feel on him? Other Met who's in high A is Alex Ramirez. He's just been a stud, puts up good numbers, good power. I like him a lot. I'd also go with probably Gavin Williams, pitcher for the Guardians. He's a stud. Really good strikeout numbers, throws hard. And going to go with another outfielder in high A, PCA. The Cubs love him. Pete Crow Armstrong, another stud. Now, yeah, just a stud. I don't know what else to say about him. He just gets better every time I watch him. I don't think he'll come up as soon as the other guys will, but he'll get up soon. I just don't know how soon.
Yeah, that list is very interesting, CJ, especially like Alvarez. I remember when I wrote for a different website, I actually did the Mets list for them, and I had like Francisco Alvarez in the top 5, and I actually saw at the time his like, because so I saw a video of him from Dominican, and this dude's power to his pull side was just insane. I was like, dude, there's so much raw power and raw tools there, and we're starting to finally see it. And then Pete Crow Armstrong. I remember when the Mets traded Pete Crow Armstrong for Javier Baez. That was the dumbest move I think I've ever seen. Baez didn't help them, and Pete Crow Armstrong is an absolute stud, which I hate because he's going to the Cubs. So, yeah.
You're not a Cubs guy?
I'm a Cardinals fan, so heck no.
Okay. Well, if you're not a Cardinals fan, I feel like everyone just kind of respects the Cubs.
Yeah, I really like the list too, and I like that, you are a Guardians fan and you only had one Guardians prospect on there, and he wasn't Daniel Espino. But yeah, the one prospect I'll touch on your list, since, y'all already talked about PCA, is Alexander Ramirez. Like, I saw a couple of high A games that he was in, and that guy has serious power. Like, I'm expecting a lot from Ramirez.
Yeah, but it's not like he has good power, but I don't think it's just power. He has other tools around his game that makes him good as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, he's definitely got more than just power, but I do remember that is like, I kind of feel like it's an underhyped tool of his, if that makes sense, because that
Yep.
Like, obviously people know about his power, but the games that I saw, like, it was like he had really good bat speed. He connected with the ball and it was just gone. Like, I think that it is an underrated tool of his to go along with everything else.
Have you ever seen him play in person? Yeah, I feel like hustle just doesn't show up on video all the time. So,
well, Drake's
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point, because what I tell my players all the time is that, like, this is completely unrelated, but well, not completely, but everyone's always watching you. So it's like, basically, if you're at some scouting event and you're just sitting there in the dugout making it look like you don't want to be there and you're not hustling, a scout's literally just gonna walk up, literally look at your name and mark you off and never gonna come see you again just because of that type of attitude. So it's like, you preaching hustle is really cool to see.
Yep. But that's all I got out of my list.
Yeah, pretty impressive list.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think, Austin, CJ, I think it's time to end this. I had a blast talking about prospects, especially new guys. CJ, good job. Your first prospect overload.
Thank you.
If we were in where you were at, we would have, like, the pie to the face and the Gatorade bath, but that'll I don't know what happened there. But anyway, everybody, that is it for today's Prospects Overload. As always, I'm your host, Drake Mann. You can follow me on Twitter at DrakeMann4. And I'm joined here by Austin Farmer and CJ. And go ahead and say bye, guys, and plug your Twitter or whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah, no, today was definitely a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it. And CJ, you killed it on your first Prospects Overload, so we're definitely looking forward to having you back on future episodes and hopefully hearing more hot takes and everything. And yeah, it was just a really, really fun episode. And, again, my name is Austin Farmer, and you can follow me on Twitter at AustinF0421.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I had a blast. You can just catch me on Twitter as OneBaseballDude12, so I'll catch you later. But thanks for having me on. Been an awesome opportunity. Had a lot of fun tonight.
It was awesome having you, man. So anyway, that does it for Prospects Overload. We won't have another 4-month hiatus. I mean, we're we're back to being normal now. We're still working on those risers and shiners lists, everybody. CJ's actually going to help us with that, so that should be really fun. But we have 12 teams down. We have 18 more to go. So we're basically about halfway. We should be done in the next month or so, couple months, something like that. But anyway, everybody, peace.
Peace, everybody.